I think it's kind of funny that after the 1 month break, I go back to playing video games. If you think of a crack addict, right, and he gets off drugs for a month, is his reward at the end of the month of no drugs that he then gets to have 2 weeks where he can do all the drugs he wants? Obviously not. That would be very bad. I mean, they're two different things, but they're similar in a lot of ways. So today's the day that I decided I was going to pick the topic for my film, and I decided I was going to entirely quit video games for 1 month, starting on Valentine's and going right up until March break. The day of, during class, I was super excited, I was pretty excited, you know, maybe a little bit of nervous laughter going on. Now this afternoon, after I've come home and played like 5 hours of video games, it's kind of hit me that I'm just like, it's gone from mostly excitement and a little bit of anxiety to like terror. So, because I spend so much time playing video games. Like, pretty much all of my spare time I spend playing video games. So, I just don't even know what I'm gonna do with all this spare time.
I see myself as Bruce Banner. Some people say I'm a loose cannon. I only came here to do damage.
21, I'm just too savage. Go ahead, get you some new blasters, but I am unseeable, dude cannon. I will applaud you if you manage. I now reside on the new planet.
So, anyways, enough with this recording stuff. Let's get to it. So today is the day before I quit. Pretty anxious. You know, I think that what the healthy option to do right now would be to, you know, not play very many video games today, so that tomorrow, when I play none, it seems more like normal. I think instead I'm going to do the much less healthy thing and just binge. And then tomorrow it will hit me like a truck.
All I ever wanted was a handful of hundreds. All I ever needed was a girl who could see it. Gold on my neck, boy, I ain't tryna flex, but I'm shining so hard, even blind people see it. Stepping out the wagon, it's 200,000. Bright red paint, got it looking like a dragon. That's what you get from my hard dead trapping. I'm lit, Minnesota just splashing. Don't that shit sound familiar? Lame ass rhymes, these rap dudes deliver. Can't trust y'all, I stay locked familiar.
Right, so this is the part where I begin walking you through my experience of quitting video games and how it made me a better, more productive person. Except it's not, because I didn't become more productive. In fact, I did so little during my vacation from video games that I barely have enough footage to put this documentary together. Actually, that's not true. I don't have enough footage to put this documentary together. To make things worse, I'm realizing this 3 days away from the non-negotiable deadline. Actually, that's not true either. I'm doing something about this 3 days away from the non-negotiable deadline. I realized it a long time ago. I now must scrap together what will likely be a piece of shit. On the other hand, though, this has let me solidify some thoughts that I had prior and helped me come to realize a couple of problems. When I had first quit video games, I thought video games couldn't be the problem, because even without them, I managed to do no schoolwork. But I believe they acted as a gateway drug. Take away video games and I moved on to Netflix or YouTube. Things I would argue are actually less productive than video games. So instead of being the part where I show you the footage of me going through the experience of quitting video games, it's the part where I get really meta and reflect on what brought me to this rather dismal point. Or the part where I metaphorically start attempting to empty the water from this sinking ship using my teaspoon. This project was built to be steadily worked on for a couple of hours a week over a period of several months. In order to do that, I would have to have a hefty amount of foresight and self-control to act on that foresight. I've been brought up in a time where those traits are killed by society and technology. Throughout all of school, or at least to the point I'm currently at, teachers have ridden my to the point it is literally more difficult to not do your work than it is to do it. This got me through school, having learned the subject matter, but nothing more. Students are not allowed to fail. I mean that literally. Up until high school, you can have a 15% average and get pushed to the next grade. Without the ability to fail in a huge, meaningful way and be truly devastated at what I've done to my life, it has been impossible to gain attributes like foresight or self-control. It is, however, possible to create a simulated version of those attributes by creating a simulated environment. This could be home, school, karate classes, or anything with a large amount of structure and forced behavior. In those situations, it can appear as though the subject has foresight or self-control, but in reality, they've never had the option to do otherwise. Just as one cannot truly do anything morally good until they've realized their ability to do great evil, one cannot exercise self-control until they've been given the choice to act on immediate pleasures. Once the person leaves the simulated environment, the trait falls apart and gets left behind along with the setting. In my case, the simulated environment was documentary film class, and I was thrust out of that environment when the class became self-directed. The illusion of my self-control vanished just as quickly as the structure that created it did. I spent the whole period of time doing no work on the documentary because I wasn't being forced to. Only once the due date was staring me dead in the eyes with a vicious hunger for what was left of my documentary film mark was I kicked into action. I am addicted to video games, but more importantly, and probably more interestingly than that, my addiction to video games was made possible by a lack of foresight and self-control. I am not trying to displace the blame for my lack of foresight or self-control, but I would say the environment in which I and many others were raised certainly doesn't foster it.